Hey everybody, Rolk here again. Um, just wanted to do a quick video talking a little bit about Masteries, my setup, and also showing you a little bit of what I have when I'm working with my roster. Um, just give you an idea like where I'm at and what kind of stuff I do that I find successful in the game. And when we're talking about Masteries, I get people ask me, what are your mastery setups and stuff like that. I like helping people out, and you got to realize that not everybody plays the same way. So what I have set up may not work for the way that you play the game. So take that in mind. And as I go through this, I'm going to touch on a few that work at better at different levels in the game and with different types of gameplay styles. So, all right, starting right off here on offense, right? So when you got like strength and greater strength, they're really not worth putting much more than 1 point in. I mean, they're really just stepping stones to get to the good stuff. Um, I feel like Pierce is really worthwhile. I mean, 15% of their armor. Um, that's pretty significant, especially when you're stacking that with, these other things like getting out here to precision, where I've got 5 out of 5, and then cruelty, where I've got 5 out of 5 as well. So you're going to be doing more critical hits, and then those critical hits are going to be hitting even harder. And then you also have the armor reduction, which is going to let even more of that damage go through. So the idea is just hit like a freight train. I mean, just absolutely smash. That's what we do here. Bulk smash. The other one I'm a big fan of is courage. Okay, I know a lot of people just skip this, don't even bother putting points in it. They put it other places. I like courage because, especially for Alliance Quest, or even Alliance Wars. I mean, hell, even like the harder levels of end game content, or even like master level difficulty. As you start depleting your health, um, you know, and this activates at 50%. I mean, when you get below 50% health, you're going to get 20% attack. I mean, that's pretty huge. I mean, even if you want to just go basic and put 1 point in there, 10% attack, right? 10% attack when you're down below 50 health. I mean, so if you use a level 1 revive and you got 350 health, wouldn't you like to have, plus 20% attack to be hitting really hard? I would, makes it a little more efficient. Um, but that's if you're going to be, dancing around not getting hit. I mean, if you're really good at parrying, if you're really good at your dexterity evades, and you're not going to take hits, then that's why I have my offensive mastery set up the way I do. Now, as we move over here towards the more advanced stuff, as far as suicides, I really haven't dipped into suicides. I don't really feel like it fits my playstyle a lot. I mean, I'm sure I'd do fine with it. Um, but it's just not the kind of setup I do. I mean, obviously, if you're going to do suicides, you really want to try to probably do something over here in willpower, just to offset those negative effects that you're getting put on you. I know a lot of people do them to kind of burn through the arena grind a little bit faster. I don't know. I don't seem to have much trouble burning through it pretty quick anyway, so I don't bother with that. But glass cannon is good. Um, again, that's only really good if you're not going to get hit. I mean, you really got to play pretty tight to have glass cannon working for you. But like there again, I mean that's 4.8%. I mean I get another point in there, that's 7.2%. So on top of my 20% over here for courage, and then we're getting the armor, reduction with the pierce, and we're doing more critical hits, and now we're hitting harder on our critical hits, and our attack is higher. Yeah, I mean, you start dealing some absolutely massive damage. So that's where I'm at. That's my kind of playstyle that I've gotten to. I haven't always been here. This is just where I've kind of gone to as I've progressed to the level I'm at in the game. Obviously, okay, deep wounds is so huge because you'll see when I get over to my roster and show you that a little bit that I've got X23. Wolverine X23, and she's awakened, and she's at 440 right now. I mean, with all those other attack masteries and then this on top, it's disgusting how fast she can kill people. I mean, she's just an absolute path clearer for Alliance Quest. She just rips apart anything in front of her. And then Assassins is one that I'm working on getting this one ranked up. This is kind of similar to like what I guess you'd say it's similar to what like Electra's signature ability is, kind of like her final strike. I think that one just makes everything critical. This one really just boosts your attack up significantly. So, you know, here again, if you're in Alliance Quest, you're in Alliance War, and somebody is, you know, knocked out most of the final boss or the mini boss that you're up against, and you've got to come in there with, you know, a full champ and try to take them down. I mean, this is, you know, even level 1, this is 20% attack when they're below 18%. Excuse me. By the time you get up to, you know, level 5, that's what, 60%. 60% attack. I mean, it's so huge. I mean, you just, once they get to that threshold, they die so quickly, especially if you've got deep wounds on there and you're bleeding the hell out of them and you're already hitting like a freaking freight train. This is a good way to, you know, really clear stuff quickly. So moving over to defense, I used to have more in defense. Really the only ones I have here now are Salve. I believe Salve is good. I mean, that's giving you 4 health twice per second, so that's, you know, 8 health every second. Recovery, you know, recovery boosts everything. Like I said, I have X23, so on top of the bleed, I'm also getting extra 15% on the recovery when she procs those regens. So that's helping as well for sure survivability. And then it's also turning this salve actually into 5 health points twice per second. So you end up with 10 health points per second. And it's just a really good way to kind of offset your parry damage or your block damage. Like if you don't get that perfect block, or you don't get that, you know, timing right for the parry, you're gonna eat a little bit of block damage. It helps offset that a little bit. I mean, you're not gonna be able to sit there and get tagged with a 5-hit combo and then expect Salve to save your ass. It just ain't gonna work. Again, these ones, vitality, greater vitality, they're just stepping stones. They really shouldn't put any points into there. I mean, even if for a beginner, I really don't recommend putting any points in there or in these first two in strength and greater strength. I mean, the first one you should go to should be parry and dexterity. Absolutely, before anything else should be those two, but we'll get to those when we get to the utility section. The other ones here I've got are block proficiency. Yeah, block proficiency is good. It's going to decrease that damage you're getting. Like I said, if you you know, miss and they combo into your block, you know, it's gonna keep you alive a little bit longer. I used to have perfect block in here, but honestly, I don't know if it was the 12.0 change or if it's always been this way, but at 4 points, I mean 4 whole mastery points, you're only getting 4% chance to take 0 damage on a block. Now, I mean, I don't know about you, but I parry a lot in my gameplay, in my style of gameplay. I parry all the time, so I'm not taking a lot of hits anyways. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm evading, so, and trying to bait specials. So, I mean, 4 points for just a 4% chance. I mean, that's 96% chance that it's still going to be the same hit. Like, I just don't get it. I mean, I'd rather spend 4 points over here in Assassin and get that up to 5/5 than let them sit over there doing basically nothing on a perfect block chance. I just don't feel it's worth it. The only reason I had it before, and you might want to consider it if you're more of a defensive player, you know, if you're not so good with the evades yet, with the dexterity evades, and you can't quite get away from stuff and you're going to get tagged a little bit, you know, it's a good one to have. And then maybe you bring in there with the stand your ground. I know a lot of people like that one. I just never get hit with those heavy attacks. I pretty much always can evade them. They're usually pretty easy to see them coming. I mean, there's quite a wind-up to them. When you get to the really aggressive AI players, they can be pretty fast when they're triggering it, but still, I don't have any issue with getting past it. But if you get those in there, then you can get over here to willpower. Now, a lot of people that had willpower, okay, to start with, like way back before they nerfed it, they don't like it, you know, because it's not what they had before. And what they had before was, I believe, basically every detrimental effect that's put on you, every debuff, you get, this health boost that comes back with it. So if you had 5 stacks of bleed on you, you were getting 5 times this regen. So obviously it made you pretty much unstoppable, especially if you combine that with suicide masteries. I mean, yeah, you're taking a punishment for the getting poisoned or whatever is in those suicide masteries, but the offset is you're just regenning the whole time. And then if they hit you with another thing like an armor break or a bleed or another poison on top, then you're getting even more regen. So it worked out good, but obviously that's not a good game dynamic. I mean, in my opinion, it makes it too easy. Where's the challenge? I mean, you got to be good. You got to bring champs. Build up your roster that have bleed immune or poison immune, or can do, or just parry and evade really well and not get hit with those hits that are going to land you with those debuff effects. Like, you're fighting Black Panther, classic Black Panther. Don't get hit. I mean, if he touches you, you're gonna get hit with a bleed. It's just the way it is. So I still think willpower is great. I would put willpower on personally. I would do it. I would put it on if I didn't have to have, what is it? It says here 15 points. I have to have 15 points in defense in order to get that. Well, as you can see here, I only have 12 points. That means I would have to put in 3 more points somewhere in defense just to get 1 point over there in, or just to put some points over there in willpower. And like I said before, I really just don't feel like perfect block is worth it. And then these other ones, I mean, energy resistance, whatever, that's energy resistance, physical resistance. There's just nothing good here that I feel that I want to spend 3 points on so I can get to willpower, because willpower is not, it's good, it's just I don't feel it's that great. I don't feel it's worth 3 points, because those 3 points again over here in courage, I like that 20%, or deep wounds, glass cannon, assassin. I would rather have the 3 points there, because that's gonna benefit so many characters and in so many situations. But that's me. That's the way I do it. When it comes to utility, there's not a lot here. I mean, I don't like putting a lot in limber. I know a lot of people do. It's a pain in the butt when you're fighting an arena and you come across somebody who does have 5 points in limber, and they're kind of squashing your 48%. They're kind of like cutting your stun time in half for your parries and stuff. So it kind of makes them like fighting like Rogue or like Groot, that kind of shrug those off really quick. But they're the reliable ones, like Agent Venom. I mean, he shrugs stuff off pretty quick too sometimes, but it's always kind of hit and miss. But if you have limber, you can kind of turn all your characters into that. And then if you have Rogue and you have Groot, I mean, and you have limber up at 5 out of 5, I mean, forget it. Nobody's gonna parry stun you and then start a combo. I mean, it's just not gonna happen. So it catches people off guard in arena and in like Alliance War defense. But really, I feel like, again, if, putting 4 more points in there, I just feel like they're better spent somewhere else. Dexterity is so critical. You have to have dexterity. This is what allows you to evade all of those unblockables, or any special attack at all. I mean, there's a couple that are tricky, or you know you can't do and evade with, but pretty much everything you can do and evade with this. But you really only need 1 point. It's really the function you're looking for out of it that you can evade. And then obviously parry is the biggest one. I feel you have to have parry. You block it perfect, you time the block perfectly, and then you can stun them. And it just gives you the opportunity to do anything. So like if you have Ghost Rider, where his judgments really depend on finishing combos with a certain way, or like getting one of those is like finish with a heavy attack. If you can get good at your parry timing, you can parry the opponent, stun them, and then start your combo with a light hit and end it however you need to. Or just let's say you've got Symbiote Spider-Man and you just want to keep racking up the armor breaks that he has from his heavy hit, his heavy attack. I mean, you can just parry him and boom, heavy hit. Parry again, heavy hit. parry again. I mean, you get 5 armor breaks stacked up, and now you're at level 2, and you know there's your critical hit, and boom, they're dead. Same with Mordo. You know, I do that with Mordo if I'm using him on offense, which isn't very often. I find he's a far more defensive character, but if I'm using him on offense, I'll do that. You know, I'll get this, I'll get the parry, I'll get the stun, and and then what I'll do is I'll sit there holding the heavy attack, and that charges up his fury stacks, I believe. Yeah, it stacks up fury charges on him, which is increasing his attack, and then also he's you know, getting those power gains. Thank you, power gains. So that he's building that up too. So then you're dealing more damage. So I find parry is just completely invaluable. I mean, I feel like you have to have parry. It's just not the same game if you don't have parry and dexterity. These are kind of just the two core fundamental things. And if you're a beginner, my suggestion to you is save all your units. If you're starting this game new, don't spend your units on new characters. You'll get plenty in the long run. Trust me, don't worry about it. Just get good with what you're doing and fighting, and focus on getting these 2 masteries, parry and dexterity. I mean, I think dexterity is the easier one to get first. I think it costs a little bit less as far as the stony cores you need to get to it, but really, if you're starting out brand new, that's what I'm going to tell you, is put 1 in limber to get you there, and then 1 in dexterity, and then save everything else for parry. You know, if you have to, go ahead and put your 1 point over here in strength and in greater strength, and put your 1 point in vitality and greater vitality, and just leave it there. But you really need those. Those 2 are really fundamental to the gameplay and getting good at it. You know, I like Stupefy a lot. Okay, Stupefy, all that does is it adds half a second to any stun. So when you're talking about your parry stun here, that's 2 seconds. So I'm adding, what is that? That's 25% of the time to that parry stun. Might not seem like a lot when you read it like that, but in the game, it is. Now, what that allows me to do is that with Stupefy maxed out, I can do a parry stun on Rogue, who shrugs those things off 70% faster than their normal time, and I can still have enough time to start my combo and hit her. Same with Groot. It's not a big window. You have to listen for that chime when you hit that parry, and you have to be quick with it, but you can do it. So I like Stupefy. I think it's worthwhile. I think it's definitely more worthwhile than having points in limber, but hey, that's me. Again, that's the difference between being offensive play versus defensive play. If you're defensive play, limber's probably the way to go. It's really handy, obviously, if you get hit with a Thor level 3, where you just get this massive hit and then you're stunned for forever. It's handy there, but the other ones here, I like Petrify, and I like, oh man, I'm getting low on battery. I like Petrify. Petrify is a good one. So when your champions inflict stun, they also reduce enemy health and power gains by up to 10%. So that's just with 1 point ranked into it. So when you get it up there, it's 30%. So if you're fighting Iron Man and he has his regen triggered and you can parry him, he's gonna lose 30% of that regen while he's stunned. Then if you have a character like Hulk or like Thor who can actually do those chain stuns, then you can really start to chip away even more at these regen type characters like Wolverine and X-23 and Iron Man, you know, any of those. It's gonna help you reduce that, as well as the power gain champs, so like Hyperion or Vision or something like that. Those guys that just kind of run wild with their power gains. Cable's another one that they've added lately that does that. You know, you're going to be reducing that while they're in that parry stun by 30%. So as you're hitting them, they're getting 30% less power gain than what they would if they weren't stunned and you were just comboing on them. So when you combine that with the Stupefy, where you're extending out your stun another half a second, that's another half a second worth of combo hits that they're getting less energy for. You see? I mean, it doesn't feel like a lot, but it helps. I feel it helps. That's my opinion. And then the last one here, Pacify. I used to have this and Petrify. I used to have those at 3 out of 3, but I kind of shoved them over there so I could get Deep Wounds maxed out. Pacify is when your champions inflict stun. Again, this is all related to stun. They also reduce enemy ability triggers by 10% for the duration of the stun. And then obviously when you get to rank 3, you're at 30%. So why is this useful? Well, it's useful for, okay, I have Electra, and she does, she can reduce enemy ability triggers, defensive ability triggers by 85% when they're under a debuff effect. So a debuff effect is a stun from parry. So you parry them and they're already being reduced 85%. This also reduces them 30%. I don't know if it stacks on top of that. I don't imagine it does. It's probably 30% of the remaining, what is that, 15%. So basically you're getting to almost completely shutting them down. So if you're fighting Spider-Man or Electro and you've got that, you know, thorns like electroshock thing where you're always getting hit, what I'll do, even if I don't have Electro with me, even if I have a regular champ that doesn't do ability reduction, having this on there with the 30%, at least it's something. So, no, I can't hit this. At least it's something. I mean, so if you're fighting Spider-Man, if you can at least time your block correctly and you can stun him from a parry, you're going to have a 30% chance that his evade is not going to trigger. I mean, that's 30% reduced off of his chance of whatever it is. I don't know, 80% or 50. I don't know what his chance is, but you're going to be less likely to get your attacks evaded. Same with Nightcrawler. So it helps a little bit if you're sitting there and you're parrying the crap out of everybody. I mean, literally just parry, 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 parry all the time. Just stun the hell out of them all the time and just keep unleashing combos. So you can see how this kind of combination of all of these things sort of goes together to create this kind of offensive strategy, and that's what I like to use with mine. So for the future, like I said, the next things I'm going for is I want to max out Glass Cannon, get a little bit more attack hitting there, and then Assassin, I want to get that one maxed out because that's just good for boss killing. And then I don't see myself doing anything over here on the defense for a while. I mean, that might change in the future, but we'll see. If you're a beginner, again, I'm going to give you some beginner advice. It's tempting to hit this XP one. It doesn't really do much, to be honest with you. I mean, even at the lower ranks, you know, when you're just starting out and you're just climbing through the bottom levels of being a summoner, I mean, an extra 10 XP, even an extra 30, I mean, that's like what? Like, that's not even one fight on one of the story mode maps. Like, that's, why would you waste points there? So I can't recommend it ever. I've never seen a use for that at all. So I really wouldn't recommend it. And then this pittance, so it's, you're getting, you know, +3 gold with all gold rewards. So every time you hit a tile, you're getting +3 extra gold. I mean, if this was like 3% gold, okay, but it's just +3. For 3 points, for 3 mastery points, you're getting +3. You know, again, we said with courage, 3 mastery points. What does that get you? That gets you 20% extra attack when you're at 50% health or less. Or you could put them here and you could get +3 gold every time you win a match. I don't understand why anybody would ever put points there. My personal opinion, I know some people do, and hey, that's up to you. The only other one here I really want to talk about real quick is Mystic Dispersion. This one I do have unlocked a couple of levels, and I had some points here, but at the time I just didn't really have many Mystic characters. So I took them out just to kind of put them over where they were going to benefit, like my X23 and some of my bleed champs and stuff better. Over in Deep Wounds, but Mystic Dispersion is really good. So basically what we're saying here is your Mystic champs accrue 2% power each time an enemy beneficial effect expires. So if they get precision, if they get regen, if they get I don't know, whatever, power gain, stuff like that, as soon as that effect expires, you're gonna get power in your power meter. Now, once you get all the way up here to 5 out of 5, you're getting 12%. I mean, that's quite a significant amount. So two beneficial effects expire, and your 24% of your power meter's filled. That's almost a whole bar of power. That's, that's really great, especially on like war defense maps. If you are placing a lot of Mystic Champs all over your war defense map, especially if you got like Juggernaut and he's duped, that's really good to have, because every time that they lose their beneficial effect, that's going to be giving him power, and then he's going to be triggering his specials, and he's going to be unstoppable pretty much the whole fight. Especially if you put him on a unstunnable node, if you can't parry him, and he's going to be constantly unstoppable, when are you going to hit him? You're just going to get wrecked. So, that's a good strategy. And obviously, people like to put magic on the war maps. Mordo, he's a good one as well. Who else? I think that's the main ones you see for defenders being placed on the higher end war maps. But so if you have a defense team lineup that's a lot of Mystic characters like that can really benefit from gaining that extra power, it's worth it. It's worth investing. It's just the tricky thing is getting the cores that you need. You need those Mystic cores to unlock them. I don't have them here, but they're over in the store. If you go to the Mastery tab, see, so right now there's science serums here. You can buy them for 30 units a piece. These change day to day, so every now and then they'll be the Mystic ones will be on here, and then you can buy them there. But it's a lot. You can also use your loyalty points. I mean, if you're not saving for an unstoppable Colossus, or burning them all up in your donations for your alliance, which you should, that's important so you can run good alliance quest maps. You can buy them here for 8,000 a piece. I mean, that's pretty steep. That's really steep. That's like our whole weekly donation of loyalty points. So for one, and it takes like 5, I think, at a time, 5 Mystic cores in order to unlock each level. So it's something you really got to work towards and save it towards to get. But anyhow, so that's my rundown of Masteries. That's my spiel. Love to know your opinions and thoughts. Please leave some comments, down below. I'd love to see what you think. What do you agree on? Do you agree with my setup? How do you do it differently? Is your playstyle differently? Stuff like that. So hopefully once I get some gameplay up, then I can really show you guys what I do and how that works, and how all these things tie in together. I kind of explained a little bit of that with some of my top champs and how these benefit them, but really these offensive ones, they're benefiting everybody, so everybody's going to see a gain from it. So anyhow, so that's that spiel for now. Thanks for tuning in. Give it a like if you liked it, subscribe, leave some comments, share with your friends, share with everybody, try to get the word around, and look forward to seeing you for another video where we'll smash some more stuff. All right, see you guys.